Good afternoon, everyone. Here at Great America, our mission is to help our customers achieve greater success. Helping dealers change and thrive, I think, is essentially saying the same thing, because to achieve greater success, we're probably going to have to change. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we help people do that? But before we jump into that, let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the undergraduate degree called business management. Have you ever heard of that? Okay. Keep your hand up if you've ever heard of an undergraduate degree called people management. They all go down, right? Let's take a look at that. Why is that the case? People cannot be managed. Inventories can be managed. People must be led. So Ross Perot, I think, says right there why we probably don't have degrees in people management. We might have degrees out there in sales or whatever that's available now, management of different processes, but leadership is a little bit different. And that's really what we're going to talk about today, is how do we lead people as opposed to just managing them? How are we going to inspire them? How are we going to motivate them? How are we going to help them change? The reality is 9 out of people do not change. There's over 1.5 million coronary bypass patients that have been studied. Does anyone know anyone that's ever had a coronary bypass? Ever had those? We all do, right? My father, quadruple bypass at 50 years old, so we're all familiar with that. What percentage do you think changed their habits so that 2 years later they were living a different life in regards to the way they eat, the way they exercise? You want to guess? Got a number, Carrie?
10%.
10%, Corey?
20%.
20?
I'd say probably about 15.
15?
I'd say about 25.
25?
Yeah.
3%.
Wow.
3% have really changed their lifestyle in a way that their doctors would recommend, where they've got those different eating habits, different lifestyle habits, and so forth. So if you think about motivation to change, do you think that a person that's just had their chest cut open and stuff moved around would be pretty motivated?
I think so.
You would think so, right? You would think that person's going to be, if anyone, they're going to be one to change, but we're really looking at a very small percentage of those people. But with a man by the name of Dr. Ornish, we had a little bit different results. He took 194 coronary bypass candidates and he worked with them. He did some little bit different things, a little bit different than your average doctor would do. Your average doctor would motivate by explaining, giving some information. Dr. Ornish took a little bit different approach. We're going to talk about what he did. But before we get into that, Lynn, do you want to hazard a guess of what percentage of the people that he worked with, 194, actually had significant change 2 years later? Remember, 3% change up here. What do you think the change would be 2 years later with a different approach?
Probably 50%.
50%, Jen?
I'm going to go 60.
60?
100%.
100%. That's strong.
Yeah.
We'll go in 75.
75%? Well, you guys are very confident, but you're pretty close. It's actually 80%. 8 out of 10 people changed using the strategies and being part of his system. So we're going to talk a little bit about what did he do that was different? What did he do that caused such different results to come out? Let me ask you this question. How many of you have children? A lot of us have children. Okay. The reason I ask you that is because I know if you have children, you can answer the next question. How do we typically try to motivate change, not just with children, but across the board? How do we typically try to motivate change?
Reward.
Bribing?
Rewarding.
Rewarding, right? Any other ideas?
Fear.
Over and over. and
Fear.
Fear.
Repeat. Okay, so
Fear.
we repeat. And what do we repeat when we do that? It's information, right? We're trying to get, if they just have more information, right? And somebody said
Fear.
fear over here, right?
You're a better parent.
Yeah,
The one
He
with
doesn't
no
have kids.
kids, he's
Right.
saying fear.
that's absolutely
That's
true.
right.
If you look at the traditional approaches to leading and change, you can basically break them all down to facts and fear. And you can say, well, what about the motivation? I suppose the motivation of the money or rewards would fall under the facts. I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that. But it's basically facts and fear. So the question becomes, is that enough? Are facts and fear enough to motivate change? Do you think if you get your chest opened up and things moving around that you probably get a lot of facts from your doctor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right, they probably give you a lot of, do you think you have a lot of fear at that point? Absolutely. Lynn, do you think that people that come at us in facts and fear probably change their behavior for the short term?
Probably.
Yeah.
Initially.
I witnessed that myself. Many people I've known that have had that kind of situation, they do change their behavior, but they change it short term, right? For a period of time, they eat differently, they exercise, they maybe quit smoking, whatever it might be, but it doesn't seem to stick. So the question is, how do we make it stick? How do we get beyond that? How do we get to that next point? This is a little bit busy, but I wanted to just give you Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I thought I could just put it up there because you all know it. It's essentially the physiological, the safety needs, the love needs, the esteem needs, and the self-actualization. And on the other side, this will be the part that you haven't seen before, but essentially, it's kind of that hierarchy of employee needs. When we're working with our dealers, many times they're trying to make changes with their organization, and to make changes internally, they need their employees to embrace those changes, right? They need them to be in that Dr. Ornish group where they move on and make change and it sticks, not those people that get scared, make short-term changes, and then bail out. So what happens is typically our dealers are motivating right here. Pay, benefits, hours, job security, advancement, type of work, working conditions. And the rest of it that kind of correlates to all these other needs can many times sort of be left behind. We focus on those bottom two. And that's really what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what goes on above that. As a matter of fact, I have a little handout here for you.